Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this tutorial, we're going to be creating a calculator just like this with Tkinter, where you could just have some of basic arithmetic there and you get your previous input here and you get your answer down here. So I could just like minus 9 here, multiply this by 8, and you could just erase this now here, and you could clear everything. You just have some modulus arithmetic here. And we are getting the remainder. This is just like working well like a full functioning calculator that you could perform all the arithmetics you want. So let's get started and build this calculator with Tkinter. So to build our calculator now, we start by importing Tkinter as Tk. Then we want to define a class for the Tk for the calculator. So we just have class and we have calc here. I want it to inherit from tk.tk. So now I want to initialize this function by having def then init. This is double underscore in case you're wondering. Self. So we'll call this super function dot init to initialize this. So the next thing I want to do now is setting the window size and title. So now how do you do that? Just by self.geometry, be able to set this. I want this to be width of 280 by 395. So this is the width and the height. So the width now is 280 and the height is 395. So I want to have the title too. Self.title. I want to set this as calculator. So we are going to have a function here. And this is going to be called layout. And this function is going to be the function that is going to like display all the layouts we are going to have. So let me just comment that here. Define the layout of the calculator. So this function is going to help us do that. And the first thing we want to do is having some constants. Let's have btn for button height. Have it as 2. And btn for button width. Have it as 5. You want to have font too. Button font. I like to set this to, let's say we have times. Okay. We have times and we have 12 here. 12 as the size. While times is the font itself. So the next thing we want to have now is, let's have the main frame. So we have the main frame now to hold the text. That's the label. Let me say the text label and the button frames. So we have set this main frame equals to tk dot frame and should be a child of the frame, a child of self. Then we want to pack this. So we could call this function here self.layout. And let's try and run this and see what we have. Dot main loop. So this is the frame of our calculator. So we can close this and continue coding. So we are going to have the frame now. Frame to hold the display of the display label. So we have this frame dot text frame tk dot frame self dot main frame. So this is a child of this main frame. So now we can, so I like to use grid here. Then the row will be set to 0 and the column will be set to 0. Then I will also have the frame to hold the buttons. So we're going to have button frame tk dot frame self dot main frame self dot button frame. Okay, that was a typo here. Button frame dot grid. So now this will be the second row, that's row 1, and the column will be set to 0. And I'd like to give it a padding of white to be set to 10. So if I show run this now, you might not see any difference. But what I'm just basically doing here is that I want to have 2 rows here. That's one up and one down here. Where up here is the first row and down here is the second row. Let's continue with that. So now that we have our button frames, the next thing I'm going to do now, I want to display the label for showing the input and the results. So we have this display label and results. So self dot text label. So tk dot label here. So we want it to be a child of the self dot text frame now. So when it's a child, I want it to have a background color. I want it to have a background color now. It should have a background color set to black and an anchor set to the east, which means we want the text to start from the east, which is by my right, and we have this set to brown. We also want to have the height set to 2, the width set to 23, and the font also. We have a top here, so we could pack this text label dot grid. So inside this text frame, we're also having two labels, so we are going to stack them on top each other. So we're going to be using the grid format tool for the layout sticky. So we want this thickness tool to be around the east area. So we also want to have a display label for showing the current inputs. So we could just go ahead and copy this. So we could just name this to and now I want the color of the text to be white, and we want the row to be set to 1. So we have this now. So we could run this and see what we have here. So we have this frame here. This is our text frame on top, and now there's a frame here, but it's like kind of invisible now because there's no element, no widget on it yet. And this frame here is for the buttons, so that's what we're going to work on now, putting the buttons there. So let me say add buttons to the button frame. So each buttons now, they are going to like call a method when clicked. We are going to also write a method that the button is going to call when they are clicked. But this method will be different for some buttons. For some buttons that is used to clean or add, it will be different. While some, it's just going to be a single method. We're going to use for all of them. It's just that in this method, the text we'll be writing on the label will be different based on the button that is pressed. So the first button we want to have here is our AC button, which is kind of like clear all our. So I just have dot button here, self dot button frame. Once I have this on the button frame, we want the text to be equals to AC. Now the font now will be equals to what? Button fonts. So we'll leave the command for now. Then we'll go to the height. We'll come back and write the command. We go to the height now. We want it to be the button height, and we want the width to be the button width. We want the width to be the button width. So that's all for now. Then we want to have self.ac button.grid. So we need to arrange this now. So we want to have this on row 0, column 0. I want to give it a padding. So this padding is going to be like a tuple 2. I will explain more about this padding soon. So let's just copy this now to have some duplicate of some of these buttons. So we're having 4 buttons each row. So the next button here we're having here is clear button. That's C. What we're having here is just C. And the next button we're having here is for the one for the modular sign. And we have this sign here. Okay. We have the modular sign here. And okay. And the next one here now will be the division button. So let's just have this slash here. So let me run this now. See. Okay. They are all on the same column and the same row. So they are all on the same row, but not on the same column. So we need to put this on column 1, then this needs to be on column 2 and column 3. So let's run this again. So now we see this. So this padding here that we have here, that we can see here, is showing that from this side we want it to have 0 padding, but on this side we want it to have a padding of 10. Because if you should put, okay, now we can put 10 on this side for a reason, for this first button for a reason, because there's no button before it. But if you should put 10 on this side for both, and we already have a padding of 10 from this AC, so we're having padding of 10 from this AC, and now we're putting 10 again, so we are going to be having 20 here instead. So we just add 1 to front of this, and let's see. And now we see that, okay, there's a balance between these last two in a way. So it's just like this now. So we are going to have other buttons on the different rows here. So this is column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3. This to this side. But they are all on row 0. So this is how this button works. So now we are going to be creating the button 7, 8, 9. So we want to have the row 7, 8, 9 and the multiplication button, application button. So how do we do that here? Just scroll this up a bit. So we have, okay, we can just copy this now. I just copy one of these. So we'll paste this here and just like to call this, okay, I would like to call this button 7. So we have button 7 here. We change the text to 7, 2. So let's just copy this again. So we have button 8, we have the text to be 8, we have button 9, okay, and this last one now is not the multiplication button. Let's call it multiplication button, and here let's have this asterisk symbol here, and now all this now will be on row 1, not 0 anymore. Row 1, you're on row 1. Well, this is now column 0, column 1, column 2, and column 3. So running this now, you can see we have it like this. And the padding also, we're also going to be having a padding of Y. So we're going to be having pad on the Y axis. So we're going to have pad Y here, and we're going to set it to 10. That's 10 on both sides. So we have this padding on both sides, and we have this padding on the Y axis set to 10. So if I should run this again now, we have it 12. So these are working quite alright. I'm just add one more here. Okay, now you can see that we have padding of 10 here, and we also have 10 down here. So you can predict that in the next row here now, we won't be having padding of 10. Because if we should have padding of 10 here, it will not be 20 between the two of them. So that's how it is. So let's just, okay, let's copy this again. Okay, for some easy stuff, let me copy this. Okay, let's copy this one and okay. Let me have a comment here and say row of number button. So I want to have 4, 5, 6 here and the subtraction button. So as the comment says 4, 5, 6. What am I doing? So this is 4, 5, 6. Then we're having subtraction button here. So and the symbol we have here is not asterisk but that of subtraction. So now this row will now be row 2. So I have them on row 2 here. So if I should run this now, you see, now we have this other button here, but there's a problem here. The space between these two buttons is too much, and that's because of this padding on the y-axis. There are two ways I could go around this. I could either use this tuple to signify that I don't want any padding up, or I could just erase this padding on the y-axis and make sure that the next set of buttons on the next row will be having some padding up to make up for that. So I will just do this, the latter one there. Okay, yeah. I just erase them. So I'm just okay. So we are okay with this. So this worked quite alright. So we just copy this now. I'd like to copy from here for the last set of buttons. So now this will be for button 1, 2, and 3, 2 and 3, and the addition button. So button 1, 2, 3. So add button. I have the plus sign here, and now this will be on row 3. So I should run this now. Our calculator is ready. So you can see now we have these full functionalities working well, but we don't have 0 here. Yes, if you notice that we don't have 0 yet, we don't have decimal point, and we don't have equal to. So to do that, what do we do next? So we still need one more row. So let me just copy this. So we have the row with 0 button, decimal button, and the equals button. So I have it like this. So we have button 0, and I'll just leave this as this. So I have this 0 here, and what we like to do here with this 0 button is we want this to have a colon span, it's colon span of 2, and you see the reason why we do this very soon. So for this, we'll be removing this padding too, just like we did before. Okay, and the last button now, we won't be needing this last button. Then we'll be having the equal button here. So and this will be on row 4, and this will be on, okay, this is column 0, this will be on 2, and this will be on 3. So in this our button here, we are going to give it different width because it's like expanding into column span of 2. So the width here is going to be 13 instead. So let's run this again. Okay, so now we see that we have this button 0 here on row 4, and we have it taking the column 0, right? And this is the column 0. But right here, we are giving it a column span of 2, which means we want it to take the space of 2 columns. And this is these 2 columns here, right? It's taking the space of these 2 columns. So that's what we mean by giving it a column span of 2. And because of that, we're not having column 1. Because column 0, like the button in column 0 is already taking the space of column 1. So we're not having any button in column 1. So we just jump to column 2 instead. And we have it here. And this should be decimal points. Okay. We have it just like this to work with. So it's just like this and work well just as it is. So now we have our button ready, but if I should click a button here, it is not actually doing anything. I'm not seeing anything on the display screen. So we're going to be writing a function now to display something on the screen whenever a button is clicked. So first of all, I'd like to okay, let me kind of expand this to 400, the height. So we have a function here. Let's just call it dig for the digits of the button. So this is the function I'm going to be using for all the digits actually. And this function is taking an argument, except for self is taking an argument digit, and this digit will be a string. So we'll just have it as self dot digit, right? Equals to what? Digit. And what do we want to do? We want to change we want to add the text in this label, in label 2 already. In text label 2, we want to add to that text, we want to append to it. And what do we want to append to it? This self dot digit. So this is what we want to do here. So we are going to call this function wherever we are making use of a digit. Not just a digit, we can, yes, and we can call it here too. So we just have that function here. So we have command. And we set it for all these function here. So let's have lambda here. And we are going to have it as this. Just dot. So I'm going to copy this now and paste it for other function I have. And this will be 0 instead. And this is for plus. So before I continue, let's test this out. Okay. It's saying, okay, object has no attribute dig. Okay, we made a mistake with the indentation of our function here. So we can call it again now and see. Okay, let's see. Now we can see that this is working right. And the plus sign too is working. So let's add this to the many buttons. Okay, we have the button 3 here. I have the button 2 here also. Okay, we have the button 1. So we go up and have the subtraction button here. So you just want to put in subtraction there. Okay. What else? We have the 6 button. Okay, we have button 5. We also have button 4. Okay, then we have the multiplication here as an asterisk, right? Then we have button 9 also. Button 8. Then we have button 7. We have the division button. Now slash. Then we have the one for modular arithmetic. So now we are left with this clear button. So now we have all these here. We have 0, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So all these are working. So I left with these 3 buttons and their functions. So how do we go about that? We also have to define some functions here, just like the one we defined to write out the buttons, to display the buttons. So the first button we have here, let's have a clear button, a clear function, sorry. And what do we want to do with this clear function? We want to clear both the text label 2, the text inside this label. I also want to clear the text label with 1. So that's that text label. I want to set both the text inside these 2 to an empty string. So we have this in the AC. We're going to call this using the LC button here. So we have the command here, right? So let's say lambda. Actually, you can just call it self.clear. So we have it like this. So now we can see that it's clearing it out, right? So the other thing is, okay, what if I want to clean this asterisk I just typed? I can't, right? So let's work on that function here. So to clear that now, what do we do? Okay, we have one more function here, and we call that clean instead. To clean self. And how do we go about that? Okay, let's say we have a text and convert this text to string. Actually, that's self dot. Actually, it's string before, but self dot text label 2. So we're getting the text inside the text label 2, and we are setting it to a variable called text. And now we're having a new text. Okay, just call it clean text. Okay, clean text. And now we want to select all the way from the first index and subtract the last index from it. So we are splitting this text now. So now we want to set back the text in this text label. We want to set it to this clean text. So we apply this function to the C to the okay. Let's have this command here. And let's set it to self.clean. Okay, let's say we have 8, 9, 6. Okay, we have a function here. I think there's a typo. Okay, label. So let's call this again now. 8, 9. So now I can see I can erase the last one here. Okay, now let's work on the last function here. We're having the calculate function, right? We have the calculate. Just put it this way. So I would like to put this in a try catch block, self.results. So I want to evaluate the string, I mean the text in this label. That's all I want to do here. There'll be text in this label. So I want to evaluate that text now. And after evaluating it, what do I want to do? So I want to set the label up there. I want to set the text in the label up. I want to set to the text in this, in the label down. And what next? So I'd like to set the text in this label down here to my result. Okay. So except, so in case there is any error, just print out error. Okay. So we have it this way now. So 6.3, maybe 6.2 plus 3. Okay, I haven't called this function actually. So this is our equal button, and what do we want to do here? We just want to call this command here. I want to call the calculate self dot calculate. Just want to call self dot calculate here. That's all we want to do. So 6.2 plus 3. So now we have it. And we could still add minus 6 here. Okay, we're having an error here. Plus equal self dot digit float and string type. So I think I was going to convert one of these to string actually. Let me see. So I think after every one of these evaluation, the label up there is okay. Let me go through this error. So what we want to do now is that after every one of these results, we want to make sure we are converting this result to a string, because it's actually a float there. So we want to make sure that we are converting it to a string. So let's say when we have 8 minus 6, we want to make sure that this is a string, so we can still have some functionalities to it. So now our calculator is working, which is alright, and we can just clear this and start again. So just make this 14. Okay, now it looks better. That will be all for today's tutorial. If you like this video, don't forget to click that like button. If there's any issue or any problem, you can reach out to me in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you very much. See you next time.